Village of Art. I'm Higimura. Hello everyone from the Hidden Village of Art. I want to just say that I know I've been out for a long time. There's been a lot going on over in the village of a personal nature, and I just didn't want to see my fellow shadow artists see me record videos in, you know, really depressing way or anything like that. But everything's, you know, going okay now, so we'll go ahead and continue with our regularly scheduled video. And I'm sorry. And today I'm going to be showing you an interview that I did in Japan with an entrepreneur named Miss Olga. So she's going to be showing us how she opened her businesses. Thank you. Take it away. We have a special guest. I have Miss Olga. Miss Olga here, who is a very successful businesswoman. She's had 3 different types of businesses, and one being a party store. Second one was a kind of like a catering business.
Yes, and the other one was a t-shirt.
And t-shirt designs. Okay, so we'll be getting some advice from Miss Olga on how to start like your own business. Mind you that this is only in the United States at the time that she opened her businesses, so please keep that in mind. So tell me, what got you inspired for starting your own business, your very first one?
Well, what got me started was that I enjoyed what I was doing, and I was getting feedback from my friends and co-workers that they liked my work. And not only did they like my work, but they also asked me to make t-shirts for them, which was really my very first business that I actually had. It was a business from the home, and I would take orders, and everything was word of mouth.
Besides getting it word of mouth, how did it explore from there, or did you go into your next business from there?
Well, I went into my second business, and that was a little bit more, you know, putting myself out there, like they say. And what I did was I passed by this area where they were renting a space, and I asked, of course, how much the rent was. I had saved some money, and that brought on the money that I needed to start my actual business, where I was having actual customers, not only customers that knew me, but those customers that did know me. And of course, that brought in, and that business lasted about almost 6 years, 5.5 years. It went very well, but we had changes. And of course, I wanted to move on to doing something else and exploring. Because I am what everyone might consider a craft person, and I'm very diverse in my craft. I do design t-shirts. I know how to bake beautiful cakes for almost any occasion, weddings, anniversaries, birthdays, which at one time was a very big thing for everybody. And of course, you know, I'm very diverse at preparing events. So I'm like a coordinator for weddings, anniversaries, and things like that, decoration, the food that's needed, and the place and all that. And currently right now, I also have my own business. I'm starting to get that ready. And that's about what's called kumihimo, which kind of brings us into like where we are right now. You know, we're in Japan, and kumihimo comes from Japan. It is a braid that is done with satin cords. And at the beginning, when it was first introduced into the culture, or when the culture came about from it, it was used to cover kimonos and samurai swords, and even their gear for when they went to, you know, on war. A lot of all that braiding that you see, or that you might see if you go to the museum, it's there. I learned it from someone else, and now I'm using it with beads to create my own bracelets and put a spin on it, a Western spin, like we always do to all our things. It's a startup business now, but it's coming about, and it's also bringing me other materials that I can, you know, put into it.
Just for my fellow shadow artists who might be interested in wanting to order some Miss Olga's products of the kumihimo, I'll be leaving a link in the description below. Which brings me to the point. Now that you're starting another new business, exactly how did you start from the bottom up? Was it like, how was the process? Was it difficult to get it where it is right now? Are you still in that process?
Well, all businesses will bring in their own, difficulties. Some difficulties would be funding, because you have to decide what is it that you want to do. Do you want a business that's going to go now on the internet, or do you want a business that has an actual storefront? And both of them bring different customers, and customers that will provide you with different feedback. The customer that you have online wants to make sure that the product is a good product and that it's delivered fast at a good price. But a customer that you see at the store, because they have the ability to touch and see closer up, they're looking for taking it with them right there and then. And do you provide gift wrapping, which for me it's a given, like they say. So, it all depends on where you want to start and how you want to start and how much funding you have. Keep in mind that you don't always have to have a lot of funds. You can have a business from the house, and as you grow in your orders and in your customers, then you can decide how you want to go into it.
Now, I know you used to have an Etsy store with your OJE Jewels.
Yes.
Have you taken that over from instead of internet over to storefront, or are you in between?
I'm in between. I tend to do fairs, or what's called, every time for the summer especially. I spend some of my time during the month before the summer comes in creating bracelets so that I can have them ready. And then of course that brings in the fairs in the summer, which brings in customers. And what happens is that those customers will bring other customers, because I've overseen it happen that way for me. For me is I create a bracelet or a product or my t-shirts, and they, by word of mouth, bring in. So I'm hoping that my Etsy store, which is what I'm preparing now, because I'm preparing new items, I'm working with a new material to include it into my kumihimo, which is leather. So that's going to give it a different look and a different feel, which I think is going to be a little bit more modern and catch the younger crowd. When that happens, I think that's going to continue to increase my sales. And if that happens, then I know that I'm going in the right way. Sometimes it's a trial and work, because what you might think that is going to hit, sometimes it doesn't. And sometimes a simple design is more appreciated than a complicated design. So, always keep an eye, always have your ears open to what the customer is looking for. And that way you know which way you should continue to gear yourself, but doing what you enjoy doing.
Out of all the 3 different types of businesses, or out of the businesses that you've had so far, presented the most difficult challenge?
The one was when I had my storefront. The storefront requires a lot of dedication, and you have to make sure that your employees are trained well, because of course this is customer service up front and on your face. So you have to be sure that what you're providing is at a good price, that the customer understands what you're giving them, that there's no misunderstanding, and that the product that you're always providing is the product that is what they want, what's most on fashion, because the kind of business that I had at that time, you had to stay in the front of what was going on. For it to be successful and to hit, it always had to bring in the new patterns and the new items. If not, it wasn't going to be successful, because it was about preparing events, and events always require that most out.
You mentioned earlier about materials. Is that sourcing materials is always difficult, or did you always find it fairly easy to find for your businesses?
At the beginning it was a little difficult, but then once I got my license, that opened a whole big window, because it's like you get your license and then all the wholesalers and all the distributors, like they must get some kind of notice or something, because I would start getting all types of catalogs. And then when you get your catalogs at that time, it made it easier for me to be able to find the better price and pass that on to my customer. Of course, with me, because I did so much personalized items, yes, I was getting a good price on the material themselves, which made it possible for me to then add on my skills to that price.
For anyone who is starting a new business, what advice would you give them?
Dedication, keep it real. You know, don't leave your day job. Do it as a part-time for a little while. You know, keep track of your numbers, and whatever design you make, write it down, because it's so important. You know, I try to keep track of all my bracelets. When I make my bracelet, I measure how much cord I'm gonna use, how many beads I'm gonna use, how long is it gonna take me to make that bracelet, how much did I spend in each of the items. And in my case, when I make these bracelets that I made with kumihimo, because each closure is special, some are in silver, some are in sterling, some are gold, and that's different prices for each. You have to make sure you write it down, because when it's time for you to put this out, you want to be sure that you're not shorting yourself, getting the money that you should be charging for your skills. It's your skills, you're putting it out there, you're an artist, okay? So, you know, never think that you should never shortchange your skill.
All right. Okay, I want to thank you for coming on to the Hidden Village of Art. I hope to, see more of your kumihimo. Again, guys, I'll be leaving links in the description or contact details if you're interested. Okay, probably we'll leave some kind of images around here, showing some examples of Miss Olga's work, so that way you can get an idea and you can contact her. Okay, you do custom work?
Oh yes, I do custom work. I do have customers that do prefer certain items and they want it, and I'm always willing to provide them with my skills so that they can have what they want.
All right, so you heard that right straight from Miss Olga's mouth, okay? Let's go ahead and take this out. Well, that was the interview with Miss Olga. It was a great pleasure having her here at the Hidden Village of Art. So here's the question of the day. What would you sell, make, or do with your own business? Let me know in the comments below. So let's take this out. If you enjoyed this video, rush that like button. Want to see more? Hit that subscribe button. Want to share some ideas? Then join our Facebook page at the Hidden Village of Art. And in the words of my ancestors, shadow artists vanish.